You know that 98% of most trees' branch and trunks are made up of dead cells? Hey guys, it's Plant Genius, and today we're gonna be talking a little bit about trees. So let's get into it. Okay, guys. So basically, in some of my other videos, we talked about the vascular cambium, and that was just a separation between differentiating tissues. And the tissues that we're differentiating that we're talking about were xylem tissues and phloem tissues. So xylem tissues are the tissues that conduct water throughout the plant. So the water comes from the roots and then goes up to leaves. And then the phloem are the veins or the tissues that conduct the food and minerals from the leaves down to the roots, and that's where it's stored. So trees originally, like every other plant, is like herbaceous, and herbaceous is just like green, leafy. That's herbaceous. But then they start to get lignified, and lignified means that that's you see when they're brown. That's kind of lignin. That's like that hard substance they're made out of with their bark. So think of lignin as like some super hard like glue slash protective material that like trees have around them. So that's kind of what it is a little bit. So pretty much, so you guys can see here. This is kind of this is let's say this is a stump kind of, right? If you're looking inside a stump, so right here we have our first vascular cambium, and this is the vascular cambium because well, plants have something called primary growth where they're just kind of growing. How I showed you guys the like herbaceous stem, but then they have secondary growth where they start. That's what happens in trees, kind of when they start to grow laterally and they'll start to produce like bark and cork. So what we have right here is something called the heartwood, right? So the heartwood is so wood in a plant are pretty much like more defined like xylem cells. So these are the cells that are pretty much conduct the water throughout the plant. So the heartwood is the older version of wood, and what happens with the vascular cambium, and this is what creates the wood cells. So it'll expand like from left and right, going all the way around laterally, and then it'll do inward and then do outward. So outward is kind of creating that something we call sapwood, which is the newer wood, and that would be kind of like this whole like constituent of like this area. And then we have going back to the heartwood, it'll help constitute to this, and this will get bigger, and this will get bigger, right? And then we have the cork cambium, which is making our bark and cork. Now, cork is the outer side of the bark, and then the inner side is actually bark. So bark is inward, cork is outward. So same thing. This is called the cork cambium, and what it does is again same thing, divides cells to the left and right, so it goes around all the way laterally, and then it'll also go outward, which is the cork, and then go inward, which is the bark. So these cells in here, pretty much these are what are conducting food. So now going from the leaves down to the roots, and these cells from here, which is the wood, are conducting water. Is going from the roots to the plant. So it's just important for you guys to know this because it's like again, we're talking about plant anatomy, so you guys could be plant geniuses, right? You guys want to know more about your plants and how they work. And the first step to really understanding plants is kind of understanding anatomy, so you know how they function, how they operate. So I thank you guys for just joining me and again learning about some trees for real. If you guys have any questions, comments, and concern about your plants, let me know. And remember, I may be a plant genius, but you can be a plant genius too. Thanks for watching. Peace out.